Hi everyone, Sandy here. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I have a recipe album that I created with the beautiful Kitchen Memories paper collection from Country Craft Creations. This is a larger album than the last one I did for a recipe album. So let's get started with a quick walkthrough. So here on the front, I designed this for those who like frou-frou or flowers on their cover. But maybe if you give it to someone and they don't want it on there, you want to make it flat when you open it up. I designed a magnetic flower that can be taken off. And then I have a ribbon closure here on the top side to just kind of make it pretty. So I'm just doing that. It is a Prima ribbon that I got from Country Craft Creations and the seam binding ribbon. I also added 2 magnets to kind of stabilize this on the side. When you open it up, you have 6 pocket sleeve pages. I did use the Hinge system in here, and I'll show you how to do that. And this is the lay flat album cover method also. And each of the 6 pages has this insert that comes out where you can put 2 recipe cards on that. So I have different page styles. I have this pocket one here. I have 2 of these that each have a booklet for recipes. And then I have the I also did use some of the cut aparts to make tuck spots so that you can add things in on that. I also have 2 sets of waterfalls for a lot of recipe cards. Now you can customize these pages any way you want. If you want all of your pages to have the waterfalls for lots and lots of recipe cards, you can do that. This one is a double stacked for recipe cards pockets, so you can put cards in these 2 pockets here. I have 2 pages like that. Here's the second waterfall. It has a magnetic closure. And I put the recipe card mats on the front and back of each waterfall flap. So you can see those in there. Beautiful, beautiful collection. It is exclusive to Country Craft Creations. If you haven't checked it out, she has another recipe album collection if you want a more vibrant red color. But this one is just beautiful. It is the very vintage tones in the peaches, pinks, and blues and greens. So you can see here I did add the cut aparts and tags in places for tuck spots. And here's your second booklet that will hold 2 cards. So these are special cards that maybe you want to take out of the book or take somewhere with you. And then here on this inside cover, I made this little pocket, and I didn't add anything to it. It will hold a tag. Maybe you want to put a little memo notepad or something in there. And the final inside cover has a accordion pocket with a standing easel for 1 card. You can switch that in and out. That's the mechanism that makes it stand. I have a plastic sleeve. So let's get started with the supplies now on this album. For this album, I did use the L-shaped spacer tools from Country Craft Creations. You can order those from the shop. You're going to need your art glitter glue. I used a full, almost the whole entire collection of a 12 by 12 pack. If you need extra, you might want to order a second pack in case you make some miscuts. I did have 2 sheets of the recipe cards. Of course, you can order more of those. Of the black artisan cardstock, I use between 30 to 31 sheets. The heavyweight chipboard, you're going to need 3 12 by 12 sheets of that, and also of the white 65-pound cardstock. I used 18 sheets of those. So let's get started on the album. For this album, I did use the lay flat method, and you need 3 pieces for your cover of the heavyweight chipboard that are 8.5 by 8.5, and you need for your spines, you need 2 that are 3 by 8.5. The cutting guide will be down in the description below, so you can copy and paste that and print that up. So I am going to be wrapping mine, instead of with cardstock, with the actual paper from the collection. The pattern paper exclusive to Country Craft Creations is very, very durable and works really well for wrapping your album covers. So for your cover pieces, you're going to need a pattern paper 3 that are 10.5 by 10.5, 2 that are 6 by 10.5, and 2 that are 7 by 8.5. So what I'm doing right now is gluing my chipboard pieces down onto the pattern paper. Make sure you lay down the side that you want to see, lay that down, and glue to the back side, the opposite side. And I'm using the L-shaped spacers from Country Craft Creations to get my spacing around those. I'm going to burnish it really well and then let them dry before we start wrapping. So this album does have 3 main cover sections and 2 spines. So this is the third one, and I want the pattern side to show instead of the dots. So I'm lining up my grid or my spacer here, and I'm just going to quickly glue this. Now you can use Scor-Tape sheets or Scor-Tape strips on this instead of glue. I like to use glue because for me it's faster. So this is the lay flat method for an album cover designed by Tamara of Country Craft Creations. So if you've never used this before, it's a great way to make an album cover. Okay, so now I'm going to take the 1.5 inch spacer and the 2 pieces of pattern paper that are 6 by 10.5, and I'm going to line these up and glue the chipboard pieces that are 3 by 8.5 down onto those. So let's go ahead and burnish those down and let them dry as well. I wanted to use this blue checked side, so I'm laying that face down as I glue these chipboard spine pieces down onto those. Now here you see I'm using my glue gun dispenser, which I have put art glitter glue into the empty bottle that comes with that. You do have to use your fine tip if you're using art glitter glue because it will leak out of your bottle. So that's something that you might want to consider. For me, it's working out pretty good. Sometimes it leaks out too much, and I just have to make sure I stand it up in really well. So now here I am folding up the sides and then cutting the corners at an angle. You can cut out the squares if you prefer. This is the way I do it. I leave about 1/8 of an inch from the tip of the chipboard of patterned paper, and I first glue down 2 opposing sides. Make sure they're burnished really well. Then I go in with a bone folder. You'll see that here in a second. Bone folder or my burnishing tool. And I make sure that those corners there where the paper's sticking over just a bit are burnished in. And if you have to trim off a little bit more, just dry fit your corners and then the same way. Now I do put glue along the edge of the chipboard, right against the edge of the chipboard to kind of soften that edge and then burnish it down. You will find if you're wrapping with this pattern paper from Country Craft Creations that it does not crack. It wraps beautifully. If you're using a different paper collection from another manufacturer, you have to be very careful because it could crack on you. So I typically don't wrap with pattern paper unless it's Country Craft Creations papers. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and quickly do the other 2 the same way. I'm just folding the sides up by standing up the chipboard, and then I miter cut the corners. And again, glue right up against the chipboard on the pattern paper, and then the rest of the flap, and burnish that down. And like I said, I wrap 2 opposing sides first, and then I do the other 2 sides next. I had to switch out my glue. I ran out of glue and had to add some more to it, so that's why there was that pause there while I was wrapping. So now I'm going to do the other sides. I'm just making sure all my corners match up, and I burnish in those extra pieces of paper there on the corners. You want a nice clean corner, and just make sure those are burnished down really well. I love how this pattern paper looks once it is wrapped around the corners. Now, you wouldn't do this if you're wanting to do some extra matting, because you would cover up your pretty papers. So, of course, you would wrap with cardstock, add your your solid color that you want to matte with. I lost my train of thought there. And then add your pattern paper. So you only use this method if you are not going to be double matting on your cover. So this is the third one. So this one is going to be on the very back, and I decided to use that blue check. I just love the blue check in this collection. It's a very soft blue color, very kitchen looking, I consider, and think it's a very, very pretty design or checked print. I used it for the spines as well, so it just turned out really pretty on the back. So we've got the 3 main pieces almost wrapped. So set the 3 main cover pieces aside, and now we will go ahead and prepare the spine pieces. So here I'm wrapping just the ends, and I noticed that I must have miscut mine. It's a little shorter here on the end, but it's still plenty. So I fold the 2 ends and I apply glue, and then I burnish it down really, really tight to kind of flatten it in there where that groove is against the chipboard. You want to make sure that's really flat. I do mine just a little bit different here. Rather than cutting out the corners, I just glue it down and then do a miter cut. So if you're doing it the way I do, make sure you really burnish good. You'll notice I'm really rubbing there against the chipboard to make sure that it is in tight. Now I'm going to fold back and forth on the sides along the chipboard here to get my paper trained to be folding where the album cover is going to go on. And then I really burnish it in there so that you can see the groove. And here's where I put my scissor right up against the edge of the chipboard and just do a very narrow miter cut on each end. So this is one of the spines. The other one's going to be done exactly the same way. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Now we're ready to put our covers on our spine. So I'm going to take one, and you'll notice here we're going to put the back side of the front cover onto the right side of this spine. And so I folded this spine down, and I'm going to put glue, or rather I folded the flap of the spine down, and I'm putting glue about 1/8 of an inch from that chipboard edge. And then I'm going to match these up and give it a good burnish, open it up and burnish it on the inside. So that has put the front cover on the right, and then we have a spine on the left. Now we're going to put the back cover on, and again I'm folding the flap of the spine down, putting my glue on about 1/8 of an inch from the fold of the spine, and make sure you're looking at your pattern paper if it has any direction. So I'm making sure my lettering in this check matches the other pattern, and I put the back of the cover up against where I have the glue on that flap. Now I'm burnishing the inside. So this is like a regular lay flat album cover. You have your front and back cover and your spine. So if you wanted to make an album this way, that would be the album. But I'm going to add another piece, another cover piece, and another spine on here. So I'm looking at the directions of everything, and I'm going to take this spine and I'm going to fold that flap down again. So when you fold the flap down, it's on that, you see the back side of the spine, but this is the section you want to put the glue on. So about 1/8 of an inch from the folded edge, and then match that up. So now we have the second spine, which is to the right of the back cover piece. Okay, so now we have one more to attach. So fold that flap down. Again, make sure the direction of your pattern paper is not upside down. Put your glue on 1/8 of an inch from the fold of that spine, and then lay this cover down. The back side attaches to the flap of the spine. Open it up and burnish. And then we have our cover done. So I'm just going back over the folds to make sure everything folds up, and it's kind of like a box. It will have a ribbon closure and 2 magnets on one edge to secure everything in place. Now we need to secure the spine sections on the inside, and I have applied Scor-Tape to my 2 pieces of pattern paper, and I'm using the pink dot. So you cut 2 that are 7 inches by 8.5, and also 2 matching ones out of Scor-Tape sheet. You can use solid Scor-Tape strips. I highly recommend that you use Scor-Tape because it keeps it from bubbling. So I'm attaching it so that it fits just exactly the height of the album cover, and then overlap the 2 spine sections. So you don't want them stacked right on top of each other. You want a little bit of this centered over that, so a piece of it extends over to the left and the right of each spine. So this goes onto the spine. I'm just putting down making sure my adhesive is all stuck down underneath. So I lay it down, burnish it really good on the edges all the way across, and then I lift my cover up and gently burnish with a rounded bone folder into the grooves of that spine section. So there we have that secured, and we're ready to move on to some pages. For this album, I'm doing L hinge pages, and we need 6 that are cut out of the cardstock that are 8.5 by 8. And then you're going to put the 8.5 in at the top and score at 1/2 inch. So the 8.5 is at the top, score at 1/2 inch on all 6 of your pages. And then go ahead and fold and burnish that. That is your hinge. This is sort of like building a waterfall hinge inside your album. The pages and the hinge are all attached. So we're not doing a hidden hinge. We're doing what's called the L hinge. So I'm using the 1/2 inch L hinge on all 6 pages. So I'm just making sure they're burnished really well. I like to fold them back and forth, burnish each one so that the pages and the paper is used to bending back and forth. Now, I only do this with artisan cardstock. I don't know about other cardstocks if the L hinge would work. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to make our page pocket sleeves. So These are cut. You need 6 that are 8.5 by 9 out of the cardstock. I've already assembled all of these here that you see here on the right, but I am going to show you putting one together so you understand. So all 6 of your pages will have the pocket sleeves, the page pocket sleeves on the front side. Score the sleeves at a 1/2 inch on the 9-inch side and on the other end of the 9-inch side, and then also score your 8.5 inch side at a 1/2 inch. So this makes a pocket. So you have 3 flaps, 1/2 inch flaps, and I'm burnishing these down, making sure my corners are lined up good. Then you're going to take your envelope punch board, and I punched mine from the fold at 2 inches on each side. And then I take my scissors and cut out that center section. That gives me this file folder looking sleeve. And then you cut your pattern paper. I cut mine 1/8 of an inch shorter in both directions. And then I put it in on the side that needs punched and brought it 1/16 of an inch away from the 2-inch mark. And then cut that out with my scissors so that that gives me a nice mat there on the sleeve of the page. I'm just cleaning up a little rough edge, and I'm going to glue this down before I attach the sleeve to the page. So you will do all 6 of these exactly the same. Okay, so take your page with your L hinge to the left of you, and I'm gluing that fold flap right along the hinge. Make sure it doesn't go over your hinge. Burnish that down. And then go ahead and put glue on the other 2 sides and stick that down. And please ignore the title that just streamed across. I had to change computers, and I don't have a way to take that off of this one. My other computer, my laptop, I could not edit this video, so I had to switch, and those were still left in there, and I have no way to remove those. So then I took a piece of scrap paper about 1.5 inches wide that would fit across underneath here and finished off the inside of there. So that little edge there has a piece of printed paper. So all 6 pages are done. And I think we're ready to make some elements to go on the back side of each one. I have designed this with 2 pages having waterfall recipe card holders. You can do as many as you want. I decided I just wanted 2, so I've already done one, and I'm going to show you how to do the others. Now you will cut from your white 65-pound cardstock, a 12 by 12, make one cut at 4 1/4, and then cut that down to 6 1/4, and then take that other piece you have remaining, cut that down to 6 1/4, turn it and cut down to 4 1/4 2 times. So that you will get 3 cards out of this and save your other little piece for a mat for another album or something. So you're going to need for 2 waterfall pages, you're going to need 26. Yeah, 26 of these recipe cards just for 2 waterfall pages. So I've already cut mine. I have my pages ready to go. Now for the waterfalls out of the black cardstock, you need to cut 12. So you need 6 for each page. Cut 12 that are 5 by 6.5. We're going to put the 5-inch in at the top and score at just at a 1/2 inch. So this makes the waterfall flaps. You're going to have 6 per page. So keep that in mind if you're wanting to make more than 2 pages waterfall. So here I've got mine scored, and I'm going to make a closure piece. You need to cut 2 for the 2 pages that are 4.5 by 7. You're going to score your 7-inch side at a 1/2 inch. So let's assemble this one. So I have all my recipe cards, and I'm using this punch from Country Craft Creations. It's a slot punch by Dress My Crafts, and I just punch all 4 corners on all of my recipe card mats so that you can put in a 4 by 6 recipe card, either some that you print up on your computer or that you've purchased, or the ones that match this collection you can order from Country Craft Creation. Okay, so we have all the recipe cards punched, and what I'm going to do now is glue one to the front and back of each of my waterfall flaps. And right now I'm just going to go ahead and burnish my score lines really well to make sure. So this is your half-inch score line that you scored on your waterfall flaps that you cut at 5" by 6½, and we score the 5" side at a 1/2" so that we have a 4½ by 6½" flap. And so these 4¼ by 6¼ recipe mats are going to fit on those. And I just put a little glue on each side because this is the thinner, lighter cardstock, and I don't want to have ripples in the center. And I put just a dot on the outer corner to hold those corners down, and so it doesn't hinder the inserting of recipe cards. So I put those on the front and the back, and now I've cut my pattern paper for my page, which is 1/8 inch shorter in the width and 1/8 inch shorter in the height than my page. You cut yours the way you want with whatever margin you like for your cardstock to show. And then I'm going to center this, the first one, put glue on that 1/2" and center it at the top edge of the page, side to side, burnish that down. Make sure I was putting it on the top side. You continue attaching your flaps by butting up the fold of the flap, put the glue on the 1/2", but the fold of the flap you're putting down up against the bottom edge of the one you just attached. So that leaves you a 1/2" space between each flap. Burnish it really well. Now, once you have these down, if you want to come back and put little strips of pattern paper on the little 1/2" sections, you can. I did not on mine. That's just optional if you want to. If you don't like the black showing, I thought the black looked fine. So that's a lot of little sections to cut, but you do what makes you happy, the look that you want. So you put 6 on each page. And just keep checking them, make sure that you're getting them nice and straight. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to cut a piece of black mat that will go onto the page that will finish it up, and then we'll put a final recipe card mat on it, and we'll also put our magnet closure down. Now you will notice I did not put the recipe card mat on the very first one. I apologize, I didn't tell you that in advance. You need to leave that one unpatterned, uncovered until you put your magnet on. So I am attaching pattern paper to my closure that I cut for the magnets. Remember, we cut 4½ by 7 and scored the 7" side at a 1/2". And then here I did cut that extra piece. Think that I've got the measurements here, 4½ by 6½. So you cut 2 extras of those, one for each page, put that down to finish it up, and then I attached the 1/2" of my closure piece to the bottom of this last mat or black cardstock piece. Open it up. Okay, and then when I put my recipe mat down, it will hide the 1/2" hinge of the closure piece. So that way we're not putting pattern paper on this last one. Of course, you can if you want to. So I'm going to bring this up, and now we're ready to take our magnets. So you need a plus and a minus. Attach one to the flap in the center about 3/4 inch from the edge, and then just close that up. And there goes that title again. I apologize for that. I have no way to capture those and take them off. I had them set into the other video on my laptop, and then when I transferred it over so that I could do my voiceover, they stayed. So that's just a preview of what's coming. So keep working on this. Once I have my magnets on, then I put the last recipe card mat down. And I put a little glue over that magnet just to secure it, and it holds it all in place. And we're ready to insert recipe cards in here. And so here I have one from the Country Craft Creations from the collection. You can order these separately. Of my pages, I decided to make these stacked pocket pages. So I already have one made. So you take cardstock, you're going to cut 4 that are 9 by 3. This will make 2. You put 2 pockets on each page. So you're going to score these on your 9-inch side at a 1/2 inch, turn, score on the 3-inch side at a 1/2 inch, and then turn and score again on the 9-inch at a 1/2 inch. And you do both of them the same. And then go ahead and miter cut the corners where the score lines intersect down on the bottom. Now for one of them, you're going to not fold under that 1/2 inch. We're going to make it a sealed stacked pocket because we don't want our recipe cards falling through. But for the bottom one, go ahead and fold them all up. And I cut a piece of pattern paper to fit. So glue that down before we attach our pocket on. And again, I always cut mine 1/8 of an inch shorter. So I have about a 1/16 of an inch margin around on all of my pattern paper. So we've got that one done, and that's going to fit right here on the bottom. So put glue on your 1/2 inch flaps. Line it up on the outer edge so that you're not into your hinge. Burnish those down really well. And make sure they're not sticking out from the page. Okay, then take your next one, and you're going to fold the 2 sides down and burnish. And I just folded this one so I could see my line, but I am not going to fold it under. I put glue on the folded side tabs and then on the back of the one that's still flat. And that score line is just a guide of where to stop that, inserting that pocket. So go ahead and attach that down and burnish the sides and the bottom and make sure you don't have any glue that makes it stick. And then so we're ready to add patterned paper for that. I'm going to do the top one, and I'm utilizing scraps from my cutoff from my main pages. And next coming up will be pocket page and booklets. So that will be later on. So go ahead and put your pattern paper down onto the back top section and to the center pocket. And so these will hold your 4x6 recipe cards, and you can also put them on cut extra white recipe mats if you want. I'm just deciding which side of this paper I want. And I decided, though I like the floral, I think it looked better with a solid pink. So it's just a personal preference. So slip that in and burnish it down. And that is a stacked pocket page. And remember, I did make 2 of these. So you can do as many as you want. And I just slip my recipe cards in. Okay, so now we're ready to make 2 just regular pocket pages with booklets. So cut 2 out of cardstock that are 9 by 5, score your 9-inch side at a 1/2 inch, your 5-inch side at a 1/2 inch, turn and score the other end of your 9-inch at a 1/2 inch. Miter the corners and just burnish that down. So this makes a nice deep pocket. Make 2, cut 2 cardstock 7 by 7 and 2 that are 7 by 6.5. The 7 by 7 you will score 1 7-inch side at a 1/2 inch. So this is what I've cut here. So I'm going to put the 7 by 7 into the scoreboard on scoring on a 1/2 inch on just one side. Fold and burnish that. And then I'm going to glue the 1/2 inch to the outside. So I'm going to trim just a hair, like a 1/16 of an inch off this one here on the 6.5 inch side so that it doesn't stick out. So just dry fit yours and then trim it so that it fits properly. Add your glue, fit that in, and then fold it over and burnish. So now you have your hinge on the back side of your booklet, and it will be covered by patterned paper. So here I have one that I covered the front, the back. The inside I pieced with scraps, and then I used a scrap of paper and some of the white mats that I had left over and put a design on the front. So here I am just covering the pocket. Again, a 1/16 of an inch smaller in height and width for the patterned paper. Making sure of my orientation, and then I put the glue on the 1/2 inch tabs on the back. Line it up to the outer edge there on the left so it doesn't go into the fold of the hinge. Burnish that down really well. And our next topic will be add pages to the album cover, so that'll be coming up shortly. It's kind of funny that those are sliding on there. Wish I could take them off, but I can't, and I don't want to risk losing the video. So anyway, go ahead and mat the upper part with some patterned paper. Always check your scraps before you cut into new because we're really stretching this collection pack. Though it comes with 3 sheets of each design, this album does take a lot of your paper. So burnish that in so it doesn't seal up in the pocket, and then your booklet will go inside. So you could put a photo mat here if you wanted to, or any kind of element. So now we have our pages and we are ready to start putting them into the album. Okay, so adding your pages into your album are really easy. Goes into the spine, and I did add patterned paper into that back section there. I didn't give that, so you would cover that there on the back. I'm not going to add any elements into that. And what I'm doing right now is with a pencil, putting me a 1/2 inch tick mark from the fold of the spine on the left there. And I'm just going to lightly draw me a line. This is so that I know where to set my first page. So the 1/2 inch hinge is going to glue down into your album. So I'm putting glue on the back of the 1/2 inch, put the fold of the page right along that line and make sure that I'm leaving about 1/4 of an inch at the top and the bottom. And you're going to burnish really well. You want to make sure this hinge stays in good. And I'm just checking it, lining it up. Make sure it's straight all the way across. I'm going to keep burnishing it, and then I'm going to lay it down and make sure that it's lined up on the left side. You can't see that, to make sure on your front cover that it's lined up as well. Now I suggest that you're using glue. Glue is the strongest adhesive, and that you take a little bit of time to let them dry. I do a couple of pages at a time and let them dry. So glue on the hinge of the second one, and then you butt the edge of the page up to the bottom edge of the 1/2 inch space. So you're leaving 1/2 inches in between each page. Make sure your page is even with the first one, lined up at the bottom and the top. Make sure you burnish it really well. I'm double checking everything to make sure it lines up. And the third one, I'm going to go ahead and put that one in. I do have 6 pages. You only see 5 laying here. The other one's off somewhere, who knows where. So go ahead and just keep adding in all your pages. And if you're more comfortable, I found that some of the thicker pages, it helps to kind of wait in between to let that glue grab. Double check. You don't want it pulling up. I find the L hinges hold really, really well, but you just got to let the glue have time to really dry. I don't like using Scor-Tape because I have had album pages come loose after a few years, depending on where you live. It's a very strong tape, but it's not a good idea to use it just for your hinges. And I also don't recommend using glue with Scor-Tape because actually wet glue makes the Scor-Tape not as sticky. So keep that in mind. So go ahead and finish up putting all your pages in. Now on the last one, I will show you what you will need to do for that very last one so that you don't have the black covering that up. And so here's our announcement of what we're going to be doing next. So go ahead and get this fifth one in, and then we'll be doing the sixth page. I will show you how to put that one in. Okay, so we got them all in, and then the sixth one, this is the one with a booklet in it. Make sure my booklet in was the correct direction. But this hinge, you're going to turn that out to the left. So it's on the front side, you're putting the glue on it, and you're going to stack this hinge on top of the last one. And when you do that, that's putting it in reverse, but you still have the front page on the front. But the hinge is going in on top of the fifth hinge. Hope that's making it clear, so that you don't have any black on that next side. That last page, I just put a little weight behind it so it can stand up, and make sure it dries. So the next thing I want to do is add a ribbon closure, tie closure. I think they make an album so pretty. And what I'm doing here is marking the center on the right side of the front flap, and I'm going to punch a hole with my Crop-A-Dile. And I have here a piece of the scrap of the pink dot, and I'm punching out a circle, 3/4 inch circles, punched two, but I only needed one. And I'm going to punch a hole in the middle of this. So what I'm doing is making a reinforcement. And I'm going to glue that right there on the front cover. And I want to use the pink dot side. So my glue clogged up just a little bit. So let me clean that up real quick. If it's been sitting for very long, it tends to clog up. So let me get that going. And now I can glue this on and line up the holes. Okay, so I have taken two pieces. I've taken a blue seam binding ribbon, about 16 inches, and a piece of the white kind of satiny ribbon from Prima that I got from Country Craft Creations, both of these ribbons, and I've tied them together in a knot on one end, and I inserted the end that didn't have a knot, and I'm sorry it's off camera right there, but I inserted it from the front and glued it down on the inside. And so here I'm on the back, and I'm marking the center. Now this one I'm not going to punch a hole because this is that back section, so I'm just going to lay my ribbon down. And look what's coming up next, making our easel stand after this section. So glue your two ribbons down the ends on that back side. Now this Prima ribbon, it does string out. You could use, a fabric that you've torn, any kind of ribbon you might have. So I'm gluing them down. They will hold really well with the art glitter glue. And then I fussy cut out this one piece. And I'm just going to put a little score tape on there just to double secure. And then I'm going to glue this cut apart over the ribbon here. So the front side has the hole with the reinforcement. This one just has a placement piece that holds it down on the back. So I'll clean that up and burnish it really well and let that dry. I think that looks really pretty on the back like that with that blue check. Thought it would be nice to have a easel stand recipe card holder that fits in the album but can be taken out and stand on your counter. So that's the one that I've already done. So to make one, take your cardstock, cut one piece that is 7 3/4 by 8 1/2. You put the 8 1/2 in at the top and score at a 1/2 inch and 4 1/2. 1/2 inch and 4 1/2, and then you're just going to fold that up. Cut another piece of cardstock that's 7 3. Well, first of all, cut one that's 3 1/2 by 7 3/4 and score the 3 1/2 at a 1/2 inch and 2. This will make our easel stand. We'll make the piece underneath that makes it stand up and it's able to fold down. So you do that. Go ahead and burnish that. Then you cut another piece that is 7¾ by 8, and there's no scoring on this one. So this is the part that will hold the recipe card. So on my first one, I always glue it upside down, and I probably will on this one too, and just have to play with it and get it going. I'm trying to decide to make sure that I'm gluing it right, but actually I'm doing it wrong. So you see here, I fold it so that it's got the cut edge at the top. That's not right. I'm going to glue it that way, but that's not right. So I'm burnishing it down, and I'm going to go ahead and put the glue on there. I'm still playing with it, thinking, oh, okay, this is correct, but it is not. So do not glue yours like this. So on this one, it's wrong if you have the fold at the bottom of this piece here. So you don't want that. And it'll just take me a couple of seconds here to realize that I'm doing it wrong. Unfortunately, it's glue, and we'll be able to, I still don't realize it until I actually put it down. But it's glue, and I'll be able to pull it up and reattach it. So here's where I put it down, and I start to burnish it, and then I think that's not right. That is totally wrong. Do not glue it with the fold towards the bottom. So I'm going to take this off. So that's not going to work, even flipping it around. Go ahead. I'm going to pull it off. Peel that off and flip it around. You want to glue the top edge of this big piece to the cut edge at the top so that the fold is in the middle of the big piece. So I've turned it around. I've got my fold at the top. This is what you want, the fold at the top. Put your glue on this section here. Take your big piece and glue so that the fold is in the middle of this big piece. So I'm putting the bottom edge of the large piece to the cut edge down at the bottom. I don't think I had that right the first time. I hope not. But anyway, this is right. So I'm just getting it on straight and reburnish that. So now we have it with the fold in the center in the back here. I'm just going to burnish that really good, make sure it sticks down. So we see we have the little 1/2" fold down there at the bottom right there. Okay. So flip that back. So this would be how it stands. Now we're going to make it have a piece that will fold up and let it stand up. So burnish that. So there's the main piece is on the front now. So I'm just looking at the one that I did finish. And I did this one wrong too and then had to change it. So I'm just double checking to make sure I'm getting it all put together correctly. So that's what you want it to look like. So now let's take this little piece. Now, if you want things patterned on the inside, do that now on this section here. It's probably much easier for you, except for the 1/2" tabs. Don't put pattern paper on them. But once you have it ready, put your glue on this 1/2". And then the side that doesn't have it, and you want the fold of this one so that when it folds up, it goes in. Fortunately, when you score, you can refold it. But attach the cut edge of this one to that. So now we have the fold in the middle, and we have another 1/2" right there. And then that one's going to attach to the back of the other piece of the main piece. So see all your different sections. I do hope I've slowed this down so you can kind of see it. So put your glue on the 1/2". So you've got a mountain of the center one there, and then fold it to the outside of the largest cardstock piece. So I'm just burnishing it down. And you know what? You're going to need to trim just a tiny bit. I'm going to just take my scissors. Already got the glue on there. And I'm just going to cut about a 1/16 of an inch off. And then fold that in and over. There we go. Now we've got it sealed up. So this is the front side. This is the large piece. On the back side, we have the folded piece. And on the inside here, on the bottom, we have that little piece that will fold in. That makes that little triangle, just like that. And that is a folding easel. See it like this with the patterned paper. And it just folds down and it will go inside a pocket in the far back cover of the album. And I will show you making that pocket in just a second here. So I've already finished mine. I added patterned paper. I did, I think I will show that in a few minutes, put a plastic sleeve on it. And I used scraps here on the back to finish this off and decorate it up. And then I added a bow. So that's how they stand up. Really handy, but they will fold down and fit inside your album. Okay, so here we are at this phase of this one that I did decorate. So I matted it with patterned paper on the front side. I matted this print to some white 65-pound cardstock, and then I glued that to the front here on that. And what I'm doing now is I'm taking, and this is in real slow motion to show you. Let me speed that up just a little bit. It's kind of too slow. Okay, so maybe this is a little bit faster, not a whole lot. Anyway, take a plastic sleeve. You can use, cut it to fit. I have some that are actually for recipe cards. And I am going to glue this to the front side of my easel stand. So I do use art glitter glue to glue this down. I'm going to center it right there. Grab one of the recipe cards and put it inside the plastic sleeve so it's easier to see what I'm doing. It is removable, so you can switch your recipe cards in and out. So on the back side, just go ahead and flip it over. You're going to glue that down, the plastic, just the plastic, not your recipe card. So what I do is I put glue on each corner and then across. And it will dry clear so that when you take the card out, you're not going to see globs of glue, because what I'm going to do is take my finger and just spread that out, leaving it tacky. And there's what's coming up next. Leave it tacky, and we're going to glue that down right in the center. And then you can decorate it up any way you want to. I ended up fussy cutting out from the cut aparts a rolling pin and glued it at the top. And then, of course, I took some of the blue seam binding ribbon and glued it on the corner there to decorate it up. So this is your recipe card holder easel stand. Just make sure that none of the glue comes out so that you can still take your card in and out and switch them out as you need to. The pocket for the easel stand, we're going to put it on the inside cover. So cut one piece of cardstock that is 10.5 by 3.5. And you're going to put it in the 10.5 at the top, score at a 1/2 inch and 1, turn, score the 3.5 inch side at a 1/2 inch, then turn back to the 10.5 inch side and score at a 1/2 inch and 1 again. So this is going to make our accordion fold sides on our pocket. And I fold the first score line back and then the other one towards the other score line, so it's like a V there on the side. And then you're going to cut out, miter cut out the corners of both 1/2 inch sections. So it looks like that. Okay, so then it folds in on itself, and then we burnish the bottom one here. And I'm just cleaning up the miter a little bit more. All right, so there's what it looks like. And then you're going to take some pattern paper. I took a scrap of paper, cut it to fit, so it's 1/8 of an inch shorter in the length and the width, or whatever margin you want, and go ahead and glue that on your pocket. So let's take the album, open it up, untie the ribbon, and we're opening it up now. I put pattern paper here on the front inside, pattern paper here on the back inside the center, and we still have this section here open. So this is the far inside back cover. And I'm going to glue my pocket in first. So make sure you fold that accordion section down and line up your pocket. You want to make sure it's in line with the outer edge of the cover. So that's the back of the cover there. And this is the one that wraps to the inside. And then you're going to make sure it doesn't go over that spine there on the left. Burnish it really, really well. Making sure that I can still fold it. Then I cut a piece to fit down in it that will finish this section of the inside cover up. Okay, and it fits in there. I like it to go all the way up to the top. So burnish that down, line it up. I think those images are so pretty on this paper. So burnish that up, make sure it's not stuck down in your pocket. And then insert your easel. And I haven't decorated mine yet, but it fits inside there. And then this one will close up over the pages. Just making sure that's burnished there. It keeps kind of catching. So here's where I did add the decorating. So this is the little rolling pin that I fussy cut out of the cut aparts. And I'm just going to glue it right there above the top of the plastic insert. I forgot that I had put that on the video, and this is where I patterned the inside. Now mine's not finished on the bottoms of the inside, but you would do that beforehand. And here I'm going to make the bow. I like to just wrap it several times around my fingers, cut that off, tuck the tail in between the V of my fingers, bring that tail around, and then wrap it under that other loop, and then pull tight. So that makes a quick, I call loose bow, messy bow maybe. But anyway, I like to glue those, make my ribbon bows that way. So this I'm going to glue to the top edge. I'm just deciding if I want it in the center. I think I end up putting it here on the right. So that is the pocket and the easel stand. So now we're ready to finish up the album. For the insert mats that go inside your page sleeves, you need 6 that are 7 3/4 by 7 3/4 out of cardstock. And I've already done 5 of them, so I'm going to show you one here. You need white cardstock in the 65 pound. You need 12 of those, 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. These are just like your recipe card mats that we made earlier. I've taken scraps of pattern paper. I rounded the corners of the inserts. There's no scoring on those. And I just took scraps of paper and glued one to each side that I had left. These are the size of the mats, so they're 7 3/4 long, and they range from 1.5 inches to 2 inches wide. So just whatever you have left in your scraps to kind of decorate that up. And then on each side, I added a recipe card mat. So these are the 6 1/4 by 4 1/4, so that you can insert your 4 by 6 recipe cards. So I use the slot punch on these. And again, I just glue the edges and a little bit on each corner. And then for a little pull tab, I use my 3/4 inch circle punch and punch 2 circles for each mat or each insert and attach those where the patterned paper is to create little tab pulls. So here I'm going to center it. I'm using one of the others to make sure they're kind of in the same place. I don't want them staggered. So I'm just gluing it right on the edge, and then I back it on the other side with the second circle. And then one of these each will fit inside the photos, the page sleeves of the main pages. So I'm just going to insert them. Now, because of the patterned paper, you may have to put your finger in the back and kind of ease it in there, but they do fit perfectly in there, and the little tab will show that you have something there to pull out. So it's a great place to put extra recipe cards. So I'm just having to fiddle around with it. Uh, it wants to hang on the patterned paper. So you might want to just leave that off. I like the look of it, so I think I'll be able to remember to work with it to get them in where they belong. All right, a few finishing details I want to do to my album. Like here, I want to add one of the 4 by 6 cut apart cards from the collection. This is Grandma's Kitchen. And I did slot punch the corners so that if you want to add a recipe card over this image, you can. So that just makes an option. And I like how the blue of the paper behind it shows through the slots. So I do the same thing. I'm just putting the glue on the edges and a dot on each corner. And so I'm going to center that on this pocket right here. I think that adds a nice finishing touch. This is the pocket with one of the booklets. So we've got that finished. Now on some of the front sides, I'm just going to leave some of them plain, and some of them I will add some of the 4 by 6 cards or the tag uh, elements that I fussy cut out. So I like this one on the plates. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use the slot punch. So again, it's an option to be a good place to put a photo, maybe of a recipe or another card, but it's going to be in a different orientation, which is okay. But it decorates the album up nicely with that vintage stove and the shelf in the background. So I like that. I'm just going to go through my remnants, my different things that I've got. So to see where I want to put different things, like I like that, but I think it would make a good tuck spot option. So you could like tuck a card in there if you wanted to. So I'm just going to put glue on the bottom and the back left side. So that makes a nice tuck spot if someone wants to stick a card in there like that. So we have that. I don't think, well, I can make a tuck spot here too. So if you have the smaller, like I cut the bottom of this one straight across to make it squared up. So that's another good tuck spot. I don't have to put anything in there, but the option is there if I want to use it. So I'm pretty much just going to go through and add different things in. And then I will show you the how I finish the front. I'm going to make a magnet flower piece for the front, so I'll show you that. And I think I did not show you on camera adding two magnets to kind of stabilize this. It's held closed with the ribbon, but on the back side, I may have shown that. So I'll just review the video and we'll see. If not, I'll explain that later how I did that. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep working on this right now, and I'll pop back in if there's something I need to tell you. Added in lots of little tuck spots using the cut-aparts from the collection, and I like how it's turning out. And then off camera, I did cut some 3/8-inch strips and added them between the pages. You don't see me doing it here on camera. But now let's go ahead and I'll show you how I made that magnetic flower decoration that goes on the front. Now I did add the little kitchen cut apart there, you see. Uh, we don't count calories. And then I fussy cut out some pie slices. And the reason is it's to hide the magnet for the flowers. So pick out an element that you think kind of goes with it so that when the flowers are removed, you don't just have a magnet glaring there at you. It's covered up nicely. So I am fussy cutting out a second pie piece here off camera. And that's going to nicely hide a large magnet right there on the edge. Okay. So I like how that looks. I'm going to cut down. I picked out these Prima flowers that are from Country Craft Creations that I had ordered on my own, and I'm going to pick out a big one and a couple of small ones and some of the greenery. And I'm going to arrange them and glue them onto a scrap of paper. I'm going to cut down this pink dot so that you only see the flowers and arrange them on that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right quick. And then we'll add the magnet piece and a backing piece onto that. So I was thinking I'm going to use probably the small magnets. At first I was going to use large, but I think the small will work fine. So now I am cutting down my scrap of paper because I want something to glue the flowers on, but I don't want it so big that you see the paper. I just want the flowers to be visible. So I am going to use art glitter glue and go ahead and glue these on. Have my flower decorative piece finished. And what I did is I glued these flowers onto the scrap of paper, put the little magnet on the back side of it, then covered that magnet up with another piece of paper. Then I glued the opposite magnet down on the cover and covered that up with the little pie pieces. So I love how this ended up. So you just pick the flowers off if you need your cover to lay down flat. And so these little pieces perfectly hide the magnet. And then when you want it to be decorative, so that's how it looks on the inside. It just has pattern paper covering the magnet, and you can just drop it down and kind of arrange it the way you want to. I love how this looks with the uh, finished bow. So I did show you the finished album earlier in the walkthrough of this video, so I won't go through that again, but I do love how it turned out. And oh yes, I forgot to tell you that the magnets, I put two large magnets on the outer cover corners of the cover that goes underneath the front cover. So you can figure that out. And then I covered it with a strip of paper. I apologize, I don't show you that on camera. It's not necessary, but I felt that the magnets kind of help stabilize it just a little bit. So here is the finished album again. And I want to thank you all so very much for following along. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'll be happy to try to answer them. Um, I will put a typed cutting guide list down below in the description of this video so that you can copy and paste it and print it up to follow along. It's really easy to make. I love how it turned out. This is the Kitchen Memories collection from Country Craft Creations. It's exclusive to their store. Check it out. Shop at countrycraftcreations.com and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd love to have you, and thank you so much for watching. If you subscribe and click that bell, you'll know when I have my next tutorial video up. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.